From being confused and mistrusting of men to finding my channel, doing her inner work, building a rotation, giving multiple no girlfriend speeches, getting multiple proposals, to being wifed up. My client Kristen recently joined us in the Wifed group coaching program and shared her entire journey of where she came from, what her childhood was like, what kind of limiting beliefs she had, what kind of limiting belief her family had, and now she's soon celebrating her 1 year wedding anniversary to the man of her dreams, right down to his sun sign. So I'm about to share with you a little clip of this interview that she did in Wifed recently. I want you to particularly pay attention to a couple different things. One, life did not hand Kristen everything on a silver platter. I know we seem to think that it's always the perfect girls that, have the perfect results, and it doesn't work like that, okay? Look at where she came from and the challenges that Kristen faced and what she had to overcome to have her divine union. I also want you to notice that there were a lot of points in Kristen's journey where she could have given up. She could have thrown in the towel, said, you know what, this stuff doesn't work, I give up. But she did not do that. She didn't waver in her faith. She didn't waver in her certainty. And she kept showing up with the belief that this was possible for her. She kept doing her inner work. She kept investing in herself. And that's why she has the results that she has. I want you to also notice that the courses that she took, the value she got out of them, she didn't just apply that in romantic relationships. Kristen actually transformed her relationship with all the men in her life, her father, her boss, like every man, using the principles that I teach. The last thing I want you to notice is how her dad, who was very skeptical of the men that she was dating, and her boss, her entire church, her community came together to properly not only welcome this man into her life, but properly vet him. This is such an important part of the process of this work, because again, with this work, you can easily get engaged within months, right? Like you'll have multiple proposals within months. But if you're not vetting the guy properly, and by you, I mean your family, your friends, the men in your life, then you have to slow down the speed a lot. So she was able to move really quickly because she had this huge tribe that banded together. And before you start thinking, oh, well, I don't have that, these were the same people that were skeptical. These were the same people that were judging her journey. But because she was able to use the emotional intelligence and the communication skills that she learned in the gut level emotional response course, she changed the same people. She didn't have to go get a new dad. She didn't have to go find a new tribe. She changed who she was being, and it changed the dynamic of her relationship. So I'll stop talking and I will let you get to the interview.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Scott. You most likely probably have seen me in the live chats on YouTube as Kristen Moonrise. So that's me. So I have been following Mina since maybe like late December 2020, January 2021 or so. And I spent 5 years in taking two master's degrees back to back. So I was finishing that up and I was realizing, okay, I think I do want to check out this relationship stuff, maybe because I was a bit of a geek, a bit of a nerd, and that was my identity at the time. So I had been listening to a lot of relationship content. And as you know, there's a lot of boyfriend, girlfriend stuff. There's a lot about how to date, how to get to the second date. And so that got me to a certain point. But as you know, it hits a limit there. So I had been dating a little bit on and off, but I was still a little bit wobbly. And I found Mina towards the end of 2020, January 2021. And that was like when she had like her Wonder Woman mug and she had like the mirror that was in the back reflecting on her screen. So um, that was that was crazy because but I remember seeing Mina's videos pop up in my recommended about like not having 50-50 relationships, and that's all I knew, if not like the woman doing more than 50-50. That's what I saw my mom doing. Um, and that's goes for the women in my family that were actually married. 'Cause there's so many of them that had families but weren't actually married. So I'm thinking, okay, so I thought it was kind of like the same kind of 50-50 content that I had been seeing, but Mina completely blew me away because she was talking about how that's like hypergamy is not even a word in her culture. That's just normal. And she backed it up with science. She backed it up with her Eastern culture. And it was just, she spoke to me in a way where, like, everything that I felt, I couldn't really put into words. And she was just saying it as if it was so normal. And another thing that really connected me with Mina was that, she mentions frequently about being homeless as a child growing up, and so was I. That happened twice with me growing up with my family. And her mother died of cancer. My mom also died of cancer. She was overworking, and I truly believe that that was she died because of overworking. Her cancer was in her gut, in her womb, basically. So that I learned after doing so much, emotional work and learning where women hold our emotions, and that's where her cancer was. And I was thinking, wow, this is exactly probably what happened with my mom. So I really feel like from the other realm, my mom really led me to Mina's work. So that all of that was connecting. And so I saw that Mina had all this money and she was beautiful and, well, still is beautiful, obviously. Had a beautiful family, and I'm like, this lady took it from like this to that, like beyond any metrics that I had ever seen. And it was real. She wasn't just talking online like so many people are repeating information, but she was actually living it. And I had followed some other feminine energy content creators, and they were helpful, but they weren't living that life. Like they were still, and it was fine, but they weren't married, which that's fine if that's what they want. But I wanted more than that, and I didn't know who it would have been, but I knew I wanted someone that was actually living that reality after I had finally accepted that I wanted to be married, because I was thinking, oh, you know, I can maybe have a family without getting married, because I felt like I couldn't trust men, because my dad, I felt like, allowed us to be homeless. And I felt like I saw my mom working extra hard and it wasn't really working out. So I didn't really trust that marriages were, you know, something that was safe for women. So I felt like women could just do it better on their own. So with Mina rewriting that language of marriage and allowing me to believe that I can have more than what my mother had, more than what my grandmothers had, that was a game changer, because I felt like nobody told me this, but I felt like I couldn't go farther than the women before me, because that would have been like an insult to them. Like, how come they couldn't have gone any farther? So if I would have, you know, like gone past them, it would have been like kind of an insult to them. Like, I did it. How come you couldn't have done it? So that was just how I felt. But I just had to own the fact that I was meant to go forward. So yeah, where I am now, yeah, so it was a lot of emotions going back and forth with Mina. It did trigger me. I remember having to pause videos and I just cried. I just paused the video and just bawled in my hands and thinking, oh my gosh, no one ever told me this. No one ever told me about feminine intelligence. No one ever modeled this for me, and I felt like I was so behind. But Mina, in a way, was kind of like the last resort. And I was like, there's no one else, there's nothing else. I better just stick to it. And I knew I felt weird watching it, but I liked it. And soon enough, everyone else started to kind of fall away as far as, relationship content things. It just wasn't enough. So, um, yeah, so during that time, I was dating, and then my energy was wobbly. So I thought maybe just listening to Mina was enough. Like that information versus embodiment argument, me listening to the YouTube videos, I'm like, okay, I think I got it. I think I can go out and date. But I still wasn't able to really hold that. Like you say, hold the pose. I wasn't able to hold the pose. Thought I could wing it without having a love list. I was like, okay, I understand the love list. I've watched your videos on having a love list. I think I got it. I don't think I need to write it down. And that backfired completely because I hadn't solidified what it was I actually wanted. And I remember getting angry at some of the dudes that I was dating, like, why aren't they showing up this way? Why aren't they showing up that way? And I remember God telling me, He's like, well, the reason why this guy isn't showing up with confidence is because you're not showing up with confidence. And I said, okay, well, I need to write my love list now. So I took 2 years off from dating at that point, just binge watched Mina's content, showed up to every single live stream, joined the memberships, and really took the time to just take away all of that stuff from my family, all those old beliefs, and really just reprogram my brain and really embody it, have it be in my body. So I didn't choose 2 years. It just ended up being 2 years where I just kind of was at a plateau. I started my business during that time and I just became a new person. So then I purchased, let's see, and I turned 35 at the time because I was like, okay, I'm turning 35 years old. I need to get it going. So I purchased the gut level emotional response course, I think in September. I turned 35 in August. And I saw my own astrologer and I was like, when am I going to have, when is my husband going to show up? And he's like, oh, in 2 to 4 years. And I was like, 2 to 4 years? I don't think so. So I said, well, maybe at the energy that I'm at now, he's going to come in 2 to 4 years, but I need to amp it up and I need to collapse my timelines, basically. If the astrology is telling me 2 to 4 years, well, then it's just telling me that I need to upgrade myself, really get serious about it, and then I can collapse those timelines. And so September, I bought Gut Level Emotional Response. That was 2023, right? Yeah, 2023. And I got back on Match.com. I decided to get online and really be honest with myself about the type of, not just the type of guy I wanted, but the type of guys that like me. And so I work at my full-time job that I've been at for like 10 years is at a university. So I'm very familiar with the academics, the researchers, I speak their language, and so I know that what did you call it, Mina? You said like a intellectual romantic. I think that's yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's the category of guy that fits for me. So it's easier when you just know the guys that like you also versus me trying to just go towards the guys that I liked. But it ended up working out. So there was a lot of them on Match. Uh, there was a lot of doctors there, even though I have a thing against MDs. I more resonate with the PhDs. The MDs, they like to be the star of the show, and I don't really like that as far as a guy. So the PhDs are a little bit more, they're a little bit more quiet. So I'm able to be bright while they're like the nerdy guy that's standing behind me supporting all of my colors and stuff. But yeah, so I bought the gut level emotional response course in September, got on Match, um, and I didn't lie about my age, and I was, you know, uh, I talked about. I didn't say like I wasn't demanding on my profile. It was very quick because I know men don't really read; they look at your pictures. But I was, saying that I was open to marriage, or I'm going to continue dating until I find that special someone. So, met my, went on some crazy dates, some guys that look like they matched my love list. Like, I grew up Catholic, and although I'm loosely Catholic, I mean, I'm more of an astrologer than Catholic, but I wanted a Catholic wedding. So I wanted someone that was Catholic. So I dated a guy that actually went to my same Catholic university. We went to the same school and he was Catholic, but that just wasn't enough. So he ended up not being a good fit at all. He ended up being really drunk on the date. I think my high vibe kind of messed up his nervous system and he kind of drank a little too much and fell out on the date in the grass and I had to drive him home. So I had to just hold the fact that I'm getting more powerful. I'm less like mousy now, and I'm like standing more in my power. And yeah, some men will start to crumble, or some men just won't be the right guy. Oh, thank you, Sushima. Shushma. So I met my now husband in November. So that was yeah, so that was just a couple months later. And so it was instant, like it was an instant connection, but we talked about values. There were videos that Mina had on YouTube that I was just like, I was just like gobbling up all her videos. It was, like wear something fussy, wear a shawl that's like slightly off where he has to kind of like help you. I did that. I had like the compact mirror, put your lipstick on and have like the compact mirror. I did all of that on the dates. And what else? She also had an older video that said like titled How to Not Marry the Wrong Guy. And I think that's the video where she listed like the values or like what to look out for. And so we discussed values. His name is Dan. My husband's name is Dan. We discussed values like on the second date, basically, because I didn't, at that point, I'm like, well, what else are we going to talk about? We're not talking about values like the weather, sports, like, okay. So it, once I like embodied the fact that I'm dating for marriage, which is something that no one in my family, none of my friends were doing, it became so obvious that that was just the right way to do it. And what was I doing before? What nonsense was I? Well, I was getting into nonsense before. So um, we discussed values, and despite my husband not being Catholic, he was actually a better fit according to the love list than the Catholic guy was. So we still ended up having a Catholic wedding. That wasn't an issue at all. And he actually enjoys kind of adapting onto my kind of spirituality, which is a mix of everything. So he's like, "Are we going to go to church?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess we can't go to church this time." So yeah, we met in November 2023, and I gave him the no girlfriend speech. And actually, I did something that Mina tells us not to do, which is don't go over the guy's house. I did. He cooked me dinner. He loves to cook, which is why I'm quite a bit heavier now than I was before. He loves to cook and he wanted to cook me a meal. And I was just thinking, okay, I got my eye on the door just in case if I need to run out of here. I know where I parked. I can just hop over the fence if I need to and just run out if that's necessary. But it was fine. He cooked a nice chicken dinner. And as he was cooking, he's like, "Oh, my coworkers." He's a biologist, by the way. I'm able to be my artsy self, and he's able to be like the scientific, person. So I like that polarity. So he was like stirring the dinner, saying that his coworkers were happy to see him not, spending all day and night at the lab, that he's got a girlfriend now. And I said, girlfriend, that's interesting. Is that what we are? I didn't think we were boyfriend and girlfriend. So after we finished eating dinner, see, I can't remember exactly how it ended up happening, but yeah, we were sitting on the sofa and I think he was, yeah, maybe going towards trying to ask me to, be his girlfriend because he booked every Saturday. He's like, "Why don't we just have a standing date every Saturday?" And I'm like, "Ugh, that means I have to tell all the other guys I'm only available on Fridays." I'm like, "Ugh, okay." So he booked out my whole calendar. And so it kind of irked me a bit because it it I was going out and dating other guys and I had to limit them. So but when he wanted to try and be, boyfriend and girlfriend, and then that's when I said, yeah, I forgot how I said it, but how Mina tells us like, I'm going to continue dating. Or I think I said literally like, thank you. I'm so glad that, you really see that our relationship is going to the next level, but I'm going to continue dating um until I'm officially taken off the market. And honestly, all men know what that means. They don't need to be explained, what do you mean by blah blah blah. They know, oh, with a ring, with a proposal, with marriage, like they know what that is. And that was actually a little bit shocking because I did give that no girlfriend speech to another guy, but he automatically knew and he fell off the rotation. And my now husband knew that too. And let's see, so when I told him that, I remember him getting really, really silent. He just like froze. It was like I had pressed the pause button on him and he just like was like a stone sitting on the sofa. And so I just kind of sat there and I just grabbed my phone and started to scroll. Then so he's like, well, what's your ring size? I was like, and on the inside, I was like, and I was like, actually, I don't know. We have to go and see. So then he pulled out his laptop and so we looked at rings online, like what type of style. And I saw that one of your clients had like she was like proposed to like under the Milky Way galaxy. As you see, I love like the stars, and she had like a heart-shaped ring. And I remember thinking like months before, I was like, that's the ring that I want to have. I want to have like a heart-shaped ring. So I ended up getting, it's much smaller, but I have a heart-shaped and so it's rose gold, just exactly what I wanted. The what is that? The like a what is that? The lab grown diamond. So yeah, so he got me exactly what I wanted. And that was, let's see. So yeah, he asked me what my ring size was, like maybe the fourth or fifth date, which is like the fourth or fifth week of dating. And then we officially got engaged once the ring came in. And that was like 2 months later. So we got engaged in January. So yeah, we met in November, got engaged exactly 2 months later in January. And then we had our civil wedding May 2024 because I was also manifesting on a timeline. I had it's a long story, but I didn't want to be in my apartment for 8 years. I had been in there for 7 years. And so eight was like a number that I didn't want to reach. I didn't want to reach 8 years in my apartment. That was how long my family and I were in this rundown apartment when I was younger, and it felt like an eternity was 8 years. So I was approaching 8 years in my own apartment, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. I got to manifest a husband before I have to tell the leasing office that I'm going to be renewing my lease. So I was just lighting my candles, sitting at my altar, rubbing my crystals, and but also being calm on the outside. So at that point, I'm like, it's gotta work. Because like I was like, God, if it's only not going to happen if you don't want it to happen for me, but that's what it is. So I just kind of threw up my hands and I'm like, God, I'm trying to manifest a husband. And I said I wanted, aside from my love list, I didn't put this on my love list, but I wanted a PhD in a STEM field, and he's got a PhD in biology. And I wanted an Aries, and he's an Aries. His birthday is this week. So I was like, that's the type of energy that I want. I had to be serious about the energy of the guy that I wanted to be with, and not what anybody else wanted and what they thought was right. What was the best fit for me? And I even did like a bit of a meditation and like, what is about what did I want for him. And I remember like seeing that in my vision in my head that he had like bright white arms with freckles. And that's exactly what he has. He has big, strong arms with freckles on them. So he's Irish and German. So like I manifested down to his zodiac sign, to his degree, and the freckles on his arm. So I just had to really get centered with God and like let God know that I've pushed out all the other nonsense, that I'm really serious about it, and that I'm able to hold that now. And realized, yeah, God said I was ready, and he granted me that. And yeah, I was able to tell my leasing office that I was not renewing my lease. And then we had our larger Catholic wedding in September. And so we went through all the courses. And I think like I know, Mina, you've said this before in videos, like men like that structure. And so the Catholic Church, we had to take prep courses, communication courses. We had to take theology of marriage courses, natural family planning, how to like chart your menstrual cycle, and how to when to be intimate when you do and don't want to get pregnant. So we had to take courses such as that. Uh, and we had our deacon who married us because him not being Catholic, a deacon had to marry us, which was fine because he was a longtime family friend and he helped my dad out when my dad wasn't, when he didn't have work. So it really meant a lot for this deacon to marry us. So all of a sudden I noticed like my dad started showing up differently. My uncles showed up. My godfather showed up differently. The deacon like stood up and like, was really happy to do this for me. And so it really made me look at the other masculine men um, in my life, my family, and the deacon a lot differently. So when we were engaged, Dan met my boss, who I worked with at the time. So he met my dad, obviously, my godfather. I didn't meet my uncle until the wedding, but we had to regularly schedule sessions with our deacon at the church. And the church we were at, it's the main hub in the Houston Galveston diocese. So it's like that's where the cardinal has his office. It's like the hub of Houston Catholicism is there. So they made it really serious. They take it very seriously there. So it's at a cathedral specifically. So this kind of made my husband, he was a little like nervous at first, but then he really liked and enjoyed the structure that of having to kind of step up and you know um, have meet the requirements that the church required of us. We had to submit paperwork on our baptisms. We had to sign forms. So it really went serious really quickly, but he was ready for that, and I felt like he was curious and almost kind of what he was looking for. Because he didn't complain at all about having to provide all of that documentation. We even had to have family members write a good letter of recommendation for us. Yeah, everyone had to vet, basically. Yeah, my boss did, who was kind of like my dad, but at work, who was also a father because he had four daughters. He had one son and four daughters. So he understood and he kind of was a protector for me, but he since went and took another position. But it was really important for my husband to have met my boss at the time. Like Mina showed me, like I get to have this, I get to have the type of relationship that I wanted. So I had to be honest about the category of woman that I am. And, I had to be honest about my age. I'm 36 now, but I had to like show up as the best option as a 35-year-old woman. Mina being the last resort, and thankfully it worked out and I'm still here. So that gut level emotional response course definitely helped with, communicating better with my dad, communicating at work with other men, which we're planning on having me not work anymore. So that is something that we are working out of. And as my business, he's investing in my business. My husband is investing in my business now. He decided to pay all of the bills and everything. But as for me, I really want income coming in. That's just my thing. And I want to make sure that my business is at a point where I can leave it, where I can leave my job and just rely on my business. Um, so yeah, that's where I am now. Let's see, because I have gained a few pounds being married, so my next step is to lose that weight. And we are tracking my cycles, and so we're planning to have children soon. So the business, so all of that's happening, and I just had to just that just had to be my new normal. Like this is my new normal. um cut out all the nonsense, nod your head and keep going when other people are saying certain things. And now my friends are joking, saying that like I can find a husband, like behind a building, or like I can pull a husband out of a hat, like because it's so easy for me to like just find husbands randomly. I'm like, yeah, they're everywhere. So that's basically where I'm at now.
I absolutely love this share, Christian. I saw you in the chat, in the live streams, showing up. I saw you, talking about, what you're learning. And like, I remember that entire journey. And then when you shared that you're about to get married, and you're engaged, all the things, like, you are a woman that shows up. So, key things to take away from here is that even when she was triggered, she kept watching and she was implementing inside out. Did you guys notice that? It wasn't just tactics for her. It wasn't like, I'm just gonna, do this XYZ that Mina's saying. It's like, how can I embody this? How can I really become this? And the fact that you held your standard and your pose even when the first guy didn't work out. It wasn't like, oh my God, this doesn't work and now I'm gonna crumble and like I'm doing it all wrong. It was none of that. It was like, okay, like that didn't work, but like I'm gonna keep building my rotation. I'm gonna keep dating. The fact that he proposed in a few, like, what was it, the seventh date? Tell us more
It
about
was
like
like
what.
fourth or fifth date or so. Yeah, it was less than seven dates for sure.
This is the power of a woman owning her worth, following actual advice based on not only religion, spirituality, but like science, like evolution history. Like, hello, right? We're not just making stuff up and like men are bad and this and that, right? And down to like the PhD thing, breaking generational curses, the trauma. Oh my God, when you were saying that you thought you couldn't outdo the other women, it's like I was like, no, like we're meant to. In my culture they say you have to outdo because evolution moves forward, so they say you have to do better than your parents. Like it's a must. They invested in you doing better. So I'm so glad that you were able to transcend that, because absolutely you get to be the dividends and the interest on their investment. And so you get to be the one they're like, yes, she's the one. She's the one that breaks the generational curses. Christian, there was just so much gold. And just the way that you showed up despite all of your stuff, like you've been through a lot. I know we kind of like moved through it quickly, but like homelessness, generational curses, like losing your mom. Like my mom also had the ovarian cancer. Like I can relate to all of that, that fear that gets trapped in your own body of like, is this going to be my outcome? Is this what's going to happen to me? Having to transcend the fact that men maybe haven't showed up the way that you had hoped, right? Like you have a different history, a different thing that you've seen, but like, no, believing a random woman on the internet that's like, no, look, I did it. I did it. Like putting your faith and trust. Like, oh my God, I don't take that lightly. This work means everything to me because of this thing, because there's women out there putting their faith in my word, in my example, in what I'm teaching, in what I'm saying. So, oh my goodness, thank you for trusting the process.
The inner work that I did, for these past couple of years with you, Mina, is absolutely supporting him. So me doing this inner work, needs he had needed me to be this spiritually strong and this certain, because I really felt like he needed that strength within me to be able to trust this process. And like he said, he wouldn't have done it any other way. And he's excited about, where we're going in our relationship. So I talked to him about the nervous system reboot course. He says he's going to send me the money to buy it. So we're going to do that course together. So
And I think the nervous system reboot will be gold for you guys to do together, Christian. Christian, what of my courses would you say helped your journey the most? I know you mentioned gut level response.
yes, I would say, and mostly it had been relationship courses that I had purchased from you. So I've got like my dashboard here on my other screen. I would say at this point, oh, that's a hard one. Okay, I will say the first course I got was the Arouses Love Masterclass. That's when it all started, even though I had purchased it years before. But that set the foundation of femininity, masculinity, polarity, and really just, you know, being what you need to be for your masculine partner. But Dan and I have also watched the Divine Hook course, and I know you said Irfan also contributed to that course, so Dan really liked that Divine Hook course. I don't know. I mean, that it's hard because yeah, the gut level emotional response that got me engaged immediately. Like literally, if I could have eaten your course as a sandwich, like that's what I did. Like, and I consumed it, and it was running all through my veins, and so. Maybe that one because it helped me better communicate with my dad and really understand communication with the masculine in all areas, not just a romantic partner.
Thank you so much for watching. The full interview is housed inside Wifed 2025, which you can access through Kainat Mentorship Academy, which is my highest proximity full rapid transformation container, and I will link that application in the description box, along with the gut level emotional response course, which Christian mentioned. She took many other courses, but she believes that this was the one that transformed all her relationships. And I will also link Christian's socials, her Instagram account, her YouTube channel. So go and subscribe and check her out. I love you. Let me know your key takeaways in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.